When you try to do something difficult in a role-playing game, more often than not I've found you resolve it by rolling some dice. And if you think about it, that's a little weird, because that's not how the real world works, is it? When I try and do something in real life, it's not so much governed by chance. I mean, that might be a little part of it, but mostly it's governed by three things. It's governed by my skill level, right? Whether I know how to do it. It's governed by how much time I invest into it and how much effort I put into it. If I know how to do something and I put in enough time and enough effort, you can accomplish almost anything, or at least so I've been told. When task resolution in an RPG, on the other hand, is resolved with dice, that can make things feel like they're more out of your hands. Rather than you controlling the game is kind of controlling you, because you just roll the dice and that's what happens. Your decisions are less of a factor than random chance is. Now, as a game designer and a game master who likes to put more control into the player's hands and to make their choices matter as much as possible, that's not a great way to do things. I'm not saying that dice don't have any role in a role-playing game, but I think they should be constrained more to parts of the game where chance is more obviously a factor. Whenever possible, you should move things into the player's hands and give them control over the results based on what they are willing to do, what they are willing to sacrifice in order to accomplish it. Hey, I'm Ben, and this is Questing Beast. Today we're talking about choice over chance. We're talking about ways to reduce the rolling in a role-playing game and increasing the immersion for players. Before we get started, a quick reminder that I am doing a giveaway this month where I'm giving away a copy of the Japanese Rules Cyclopedia to one lucky person who is subscribed to the Questing Beast newsletter. Link to that is down below. If you're not subscribed already, go down there and check it out. So how do we shift task resolution so it is back more under player control? The first thing to think about is training. What that means is to think about your character's class, if you're playing a class-based game, what skills they have, what their backgrounds are, and think, is this character inherently good at the thing that they're attempting? If they are good at that thing, then in an awful lot of cases, I simply allow it to automatically succeed. So if you are a thief, for example, and you're trying to sneak up on a sleeping guard, I would say no roll is necessary. The guard is already asleep, and you are assumed to be a quiet, stealthy character. You've made that choice at the beginning of the game, and it should just work. On the other hand, if you are a wizard, wizards are not known for being very stealthy and sneaky, then maybe a roll does make sense because they could stumble over something, they could jangle the keys as they try and take them off of the guard's belt, or something similar. As another example, say your character has a background as a blacksmith, and they want to undertake a fairly straightforward task. They want to forge a dagger. In that case, I would say they just do it, given enough time, of course. On the other hand, if someone does not have a blacksmith background, then not only is it very difficult, you could rule that it is straight up impossible. If I myself tried to forge a dagger on a blacksmith anvil with no training, what are the odds you would actually succeed? It's basically zero. You shouldn't give a low chance, you should just say no chance, find another way to do this. In a similar way, I think that your character's class or background should have a very big impact when it comes to knowing lore. In my game Knave 2nd Edition, this is the rule that I use. Lore checks. Checks are not necessary for a PC to recall lore. PCs automatically know all common knowledge and any specialized knowledge covered by their careers. Any other knowledge must be discovered in-game. The goal here is to make the choice of class or background very impactful for your characters. It feels absolutely great to say, oh, wait a second, I have a background for that, and then you just know the thing that's relevant for this adventure. You feel smart, you feel useful, it feels like your decisions mattered. And if you don't have the right background, or if no one in the group has the right background, then you are immediately pushed off on another adventure. Go and find someone who has that knowledge. Either way, it's going to be good for the session. Doing things this way avoids a little bit of the roll fest situation that you see sometimes in RPGs, where if one character fails their history check, everyone else at the table wants to roll as well. It's much better to say, no one has the right background for this. No one would know this, or no one would be able to do this, like crafting a dagger at a blacksmith shop. Go out there and find someone who can. Engage with the game world instead of engaging just with the game mechanics. Okay, the second thing you need to keep in mind is time, and this is a really big one. But first, a quick shout out to today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Into the AM, my very favorite sponsor, for a very good reason, which is that they've been sponsoring us for years and sending me awesome t-shirts the whole time. They've also changed my life in very important ways, which is that people I've never met before compliment me on my shirts when I'm just walking around. I kid you not, this has happened several times. It's happened to me at the grocery store and even just like walking down the street. It's been pretty wild, for me at least. They also have lots of really great t-shirt designs, plenty of graphic tees that have, sci-fi and fantasy themes, but they also have these really great short sleeve button-up shirts that I have been enjoying a lot, especially in the recent really hot Wichita weather. They always have great deals going on their website. You should go check that out and use my link in the description below to get an extra 10% off, but I really cannot recommend them enough. I wear their clothes all the time and they're absolutely fantastic. So go check them out, and thanks again to Into the AM. All right, the second thing to keep in mind is time. There is a huge number of roles in every role-playing game that can be skipped by asking just one question. How long do you spend doing this? In many cases, the task might, in theory, be difficult, but it would become absolutely trivial if you just spent enough time working at it. And if there's no time pressure constraining the player character, then why are you even rolling? I feel like this is one of the most common issues that novice game masters make. They see that there is a mechanic for resolving things, and so whenever the players try and do something, they just activate the mechanic, and they don't think about the context within which that action is taking place. They don't look for ways to give players a choice rather than just relying on chance. And I feel like this is especially the case when it comes to searching areas. Here's the rule that I use in Knave 2e. Searching. One turn spent searching a room reveals any non-obvious features, a statuette inside a drawer, a cracked tile, etc., as well as any clues to secrets. In dim light, like candlelight or lantern light, this takes 2 turns instead. Notice that the mechanics here don't use dice at all. Instead, it's a series of choices that the players can make. How long do you want to spend searching? If you spend a long time, then there's more likely that a random encounter will show up. Do you want to hold a candle or do you want to hold a torch? The torch will make it go faster, but it burns down faster as well. In essence, the players are making a wager. They're balancing risk and reward. There's still some element of random chance in here because a random encounter might show up if they take too long, but players have a lot more impact on whether that thing occurs. I have a similar rule when it comes to detecting traps. The way that I do traps is that if you're crawling really slowly through a dungeon, you are automatically going to find them. You can speed up your travel through the dungeon, but at the cost of that knowledge. If you want to move fast through a dungeon, then you are going to be setting off all of the traps you come across. You're not going to be able to map your environment. There will be these heavy penalties that it's based on your choice of how quickly to move. And just because you can detect a trap early does not mean it's no longer a problem. You still have to figure out how to bypass it, which I usually do through direct interaction with the environment. As often as I can, things are reduced down to choices the player makes. Dice rolling allows you to kind of bypass these choices by abstracting them away, and I like to avoid doing that. There's 2 rules that I really love from 3rd edition D&D, which I think more people should adopt as well. I was pretty bummed that they weren't in 5e actually. One is taking 10, where your character takes 10 minutes, and then they automatically get a 10 on the d20. Basically, they get a guaranteed average roll. The other rule is taking 20, where similarly, you take 20 minutes and then you just get a 20 on the roll. So you can choose to sacrifice time in order to get the result. Having these rules in your game bypass so many rolling issues that sessions tend to have and make the game go so much smoother. Now, the third thing to keep in mind to increase player choice in an RPG is effort. And this is an interesting one because D&D doesn't have a lot of mechanics for expending effort, but there's definitely ways that you can work it in. I think the key is to think of effort in terms of what are you willing to sacrifice? And certainly you can sacrifice time, as I mentioned before, but there's other things you can sacrifice as well. A really easily available one of these is hit points. For a lot of tasks that require physical effort for the player to do, you can allow them to sacrifice hit points in order to increase their roll. Or you could say something like, this is a very difficult jump across a chasm, so you spend 5 hit points and it will be an automatic success. You got across the chasm, but now your ankle is sprained and you're going to have to deal with that until you can take a rest and heal up a bit. Now, when it comes to magic, there's a number of different approaches you can take here. Certainly you can use up hit points to power magic. I know that Dungeon Crawl Classics allows you to burn ability points in order to make your spells more powerful. But if you're using D&D, then you could use spell slots for similar things. For example, you could have kind of default spell slots where just use up a spell slot or fill it, depending on the framework you're using, and you can automatically detect magic or maybe automatically counterspell things. Item breakage is another way to show effort or a way to sacrifice things. Like you try and pick this lock, but maybe your lock pick will break. Or fish this gem out of a pool of lava, but whatever tool you use will be destroyed. Or maybe destroy the Demon King, but your weapon will disintegrate upon impact. I built a system for power attacks or critical hits in Knave 2e that works like this. After a successful attack roll, but before rolling for damage, PCs can decide to make a melee attack a power attack, which doubles the number of damage dice rolled, but breaks the weapon. In other words, if you really need to kill this guy right now, you can not only hit him with your sword, you can shatter it over his head or stick it into his body and snap it off. Another thing that you can have them sacrifice, of course, is wealth, because money can grease a lot of wheels, especially in social situations. Or maybe you just need to spend enough money to get the right item for the job. If you're playing a game with a lot of politics, consider coming up with a standard table of bribe amounts based on different social levels. That way players will automatically have a ballpark where they can say, oh, we need to get that earl to do what we say. We're probably going to need about this much money before it's going to be worth his while. The way that I do it in Knave is that the cost of living for a month is about enough to get most people to do what you want, as long as it's not too dangerous. And then I just have a table showing what the cost of living is for each of the different main social levels. And the last form of effort here that you can sacrifice is manpower. When in doubt, just throw more bodies at the problem. This works best in old school style games where having things like hirelings and henchmen is a bit more common. But even in more modern games like 5e, if you have any kind of NPC companion, it can be great fodder for dilemmas. While we're running through this dungeon, do you want to send the hireling ahead of us? Because he's going to figure out where all the traps are, but he's also going to bear the brunt of it. How much do you care about this guy? I'm sure there's plenty of other things that you could sacrifice to get a bit of a benefit in D&D, but I will leave those for you to figure out and put in the comments below. Now, I know a lot of people enjoy rolling dice, and I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't enjoy that. I'm just saying that as a game master and as a game designer, what I am most interested in is impactful choices. I want to see the players make a decision and then see that decision ripple forward and have an impact on the course of the game. At the end of a session, I want players to be able to look back and say, all of this happened because of that choice I made. Some game masters like rolling dice because it is a simple and easy way to make something difficult by making it unlikely. But you can just as easily make something difficult by requiring a high level of expertise or requiring a heavy expenditure of time or of resources. I think the game is more fun when game masters provide a lot of paths to victory for players who engage with the game world directly rather than just through the dice. There are situations in RPGs where random chance is genuinely a factor. Random encounters are a great example of this. I think if you reserve dice for those types of situations, then when you pull them out, it'll be all the more exciting to see what they roll. Now, I know not everyone is going to agree with me on this point, and that is totally fine. Please put in the description below what your procedure or your protocol is for deciding when you need to roll dice and when you don't. And thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.